Good evening, President Pfeiffer and the board. Well, let me get right to it. We're talking about the Portola Middle School lead proposal recommendation. It's a little anticlimactic because it's actually on the Preces, but I think we ought to quickly go through. Thank you, Dr. Harder. We'll quickly go through the process, and it won't take too long. It's pretty short, really. There's really 4 areas I'd like to speak to. Portola relocation process, like to review the current proposals, talk a little bit about the lead proposal recommendation, and then what the next steps would be should the board decide to approve the lead proposal. Sorry, that's what I just said there. So in terms of the relocation required, I think it's important to note, and we've talked about this several times, not a surprise, but there's basically a geological hazard at the site. We've looked at mitigation options, and to be blunt honest, due to cost, feasibility, and liability, it's not a recommended process to try to mitigate it. We have looked at the lower site area at Portola and rejected due to other site constraints and issues. So what that has left us with is a need to find another location to house and to provide educational services to the Portola Middle School students. So the basic framework and criteria, and this is a pretty condensed set of criteria, if you will, but really we were looking to maintain a middle school in the city of El Cerrito, provide something that was really cost effective and that would be a feasible, long-term workable solution, try to minimize the impact to the programs, and I'm sure for this recommendation, if it goes forward, there will be some that won't feel like this minimizes impact, but we believe that overall it's a good proposal. And then also have a project that respects the community so that we, again, mitigate the impacts. As you recall, we did a community input and review process, started back in the fall of 2006. We had an initial set of brainstorming and then a set of proposals from that. District-owned sites where we focused on that as well, and you can see Alvarado, Castro, El Cerrito High School, and then the Fairmont site. And then we also looked and have been working with the city very closely as they could be involved depending on which option came forward. From that, the board also weighed in and provided some focus and direction, and the result of all of that work and effort has brought us to 3 major 3 options. That is the El Cerrito Middle School, High School option, the alternative sites option, which was to try to find property within the city of El Cerrito that could function or serve for an appropriate middle school site, and the third option would be to actually locate the middle school at the Fairmont site. So quite honestly, we looked at all 3 of these in some depth, and I won't necessarily read all those, but clearly it's educationally appropriate. We looked at some scenarios. It could be done, but there are some issues around the neighborhood impacts, site safety issues, and some future growth limitations that create some problems. Again, I won't delineate all of these pieces here, but you can see there's a triangular piece on about the middle of the screen that actually would show where the middle school option would be if it was at a middle school, high school option. It does impact play space, future growth, and those sort of things, and so that's kind of the good and bad, if you will, of that proposal. The next one is the alternate site options. We did significant amount of and actually engaged real estate professionals to help us locate appropriate sites in the city of El Cerrito. And for those of you that know anything about the city of El Cerrito in that area, it is built out, mainly residential, limited site options. We did discover one side, that was the old Dole and Lumber Company side. We took a look at that, but to be blunt honest, the number of the amount of real estate actions and requirements and costs to really develop this site on also a street that is somewhat congested today, and the impacts, we basically decided that really didn't bring any kind of feasible solutions to us. So it brings us to the Fairmont, or what we call the full site proposal option. And in this option, we would be working with the city of El Cerrito to relocate the library senior center, likely to the lower portion of the Portola site, and we've engaged and have had those conversations with them. Talk about purchase and relocation of some existing residential property. Take a look at the city park area that's also included at that location, and would basically have a parcel of about 6.7 acres total. This again is a fairly quick rendition of how we think the site could look. This is by no means, we haven't went through the entire process that's required to have a project, but we wanted to give some kind of conceptual thought and process that we were considering. So the slide changes color because this in fact is the meat of this, and this is the recommendation. We believe it provides an adequate size, and some will argue about the size, but there are many successful schools, middle schools with property size at actually lower than 6.7 acres, so we're comfortable with that. We think it's appropriately located because it is close to the major artery of San Pablo, and in addition to that, we believe that it can be built in phases so that we can accommodate the fairly complex acquisition process of the city and perhaps the residents. So that's the recommendation. And so what we'd be asking the board this evening is to, should you so vote, is to take the recommendation that the middle school on the Fairmont property be the lead proposal, and then the approval tonight would then direct staff to move forward to develop it into a project so that we can do that. And to do that, you can see on the next steps, these would be the next steps that we would begin immediately to make that happen. That concludes the presentation. I'll be glad to take any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Emerson. Questions?
Public comment.
He asked for questions. Okay. Public comment?